There are days that are harder than others, but the memories are not all sad of why the person isn't here. And at the end of the day, what we should cherish and hold on to is our memories. That's what's going to be everlasting, is our memories.
Iman and David Bowie had been together for 26 years when the legendary rock star passed away in 2016, only 2 days after the release of his 25th studio album, Black Star. Today, the 66-year-old supermodel, entrepreneur, and mother of two is launching her first fragrance, Love Memoir, inspired by the memory of her late husband. This intimate tribute to their epic romance will be available November 19th on HSN and hsn.com.
I have this beautiful house that David and I built together, upstate New York on a mountaintop. And since he passed away, I would come to the house and would not be able to stay for a whole weekend. I mean, I'll stay for 1 week, and I just get, very sad, and then, rush back to the city. But because of COVID, I came here in 2019 Christmas, and I've been here since then. And what it really afforded me, this house, and which I'm very grateful to it, the house and the property, is that, and especially the property, because we have the most beautiful sunsets every day. And so what it really afforded me first is to go through my grief, which I thought I processed it, but I actually did not. And my daughter, goes to school in California. So I was literally on my own with my little dog. So, and so I have never wanted to create a fragrance. So that was the last thing on my mind. And so slowly, the sunset reminded me of Tuscany, a favorite place of David and I. And since my husband passed away, I've been wearing his fragrance, which is a Tom Ford Very Bear. So the thought of Tuscany, seeing the sunset every day, and wearing the Very Bear, that is how slowly I went there with the fragrance. I thought, oh my God, I can create a fragrance in remembrance and in celebration of memory. I think personally, scent and memory, of course, they're really attached to each other. But I think one of the things that we all humans have in common, and one of our cherished things that we have, is memory. Because if people can't, leave each other, people pass away, but you'll have their memories, and that memories is the everlasting memories, and that sustain us, and that's what I found. So creating the fragrance, putting the Very There in there of David, and then creating a lot of things that reminded me of Tuscany, the bergamot, or putting those together, so that now I have a fragrance that is both him and I. And I found by just creating this fragrance and remembering David on every day and every minute being in the house, it just somehow eased my grief, and I came through it.
Iman and David's love story began in 1990, just moments before Bowie stepped on stage at one of his concerts in Los Angeles.
Well, I have been a huge fan of David's music since I arrived in 1976. And I think I've been almost to all his concerts whenever he came through New York. And I have been invited to go backstage to meet him, and I never went. I just never feel comfortable in going backstage and meeting someone. And then what do you tell them? Oh, it was a great show, So I never met him. And then I moved to California. I believe it was 1990. I moved to California, and then he was performing there at one of his concerts called Sound and Vision, and I went to see it. And I was late. Usually I'm never late. So I was late to the concert, and somebody helped me to go through backstage to get to my seat. And for that 1 second, we crossed paths. He was about to go on stage, and he stopped. And he shook my hand, and he said, "I hope you have a great evening." That was the first time. And then I met a photographer named Greg Gorman, who also photographed David. I had no idea, but he introduced me to a hairdresser called Teddy Antolin. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, I had no idea. So this is Kismet. This is like destiny. I had never intended to move to California. I personally believe my destiny was calling me to go to California so I can meet David. So anyway, the hairdresser called me one day and he said, listen, I'm having it's my birthday this Saturday. I'm having a party. I'd love you to come. I said, sure. He said, it's at a restaurant. So he gave me the restaurant address. I drove myself there. And there were only 4 people. It was David and I, and Antolin and his boyfriend. So it was a setup. It was a blind date. David claims that was love at first sight for him. It took me a couple of months, but I got there. Yeah, I got it. I had hesitation. It's the last thing I would want at that time, is to date or be serious about a rock star. But I came to know him really as David Jones, who is really his real name. I came to know the man rather than the rock star. And he was so kind, a gentleman, very, very close to his family. Family came first. Private, very private. And, great sense of humor. It was hilarious. And, just made everybody comfortable. And, he also, it's like, it wasn't like he was somebody who made me feel, because I always wanted to have my own identity, regardless whoever I was with or whatever. But so he was very aware of that, it's nice to be called my wife, but he'll always say my wife, Iman. So it's like, she's my wife, but also she's Iman. One of the most romantic things for me is that I remember when I think like a couple of weeks while we were dating, my shoelace, and we were walking down the street and my shoelace came undone and he got on his knees to tie it for me. And I'm like, he's the one.
The following year, David proposed after playing a concert in Paris.
And he just got a boat on the Seine, right? And somehow found a way to get himself. So every time we approached one of the bridges, the lights will come up. And so we had dinner. We had there was a cook and a chef and a waiter and all that. And we went through that, and that's how he proposed.
Iman and David were married in 1992, and 2 years later, the supermodel launched Iman Cosmetics, which was the first makeup and skincare collection designed specifically for all women with skin of color.
He was so instrumental in, because as much as I find myself that I am confident, I'm actually very apprehensive of starting things, especially businesses. Mm-hmm. And I would say if David was not in my life, I don't know if I would have had the courage to start Iman Cosmetics. But he's the one who, because he's fearless in that way, and he does not feel that as long as you do what you want, and research it and do all the work that it requires, then you just let it and don't worry about what others think. Because I said to him, what about if it fails? And he said, what about it? You're not going to die because it failed, but you'll never know if it succeeds. So that he gave me the courage for. And then he was very proud that it was one of the first cosmetics that was very inclusive. So, that he was proud of that. And he always said, probably that will be your legacy in terms of work, will be the creation of Iman Cosmetics, because it really served a whole community that was not being served. And then I can't say I became as fearless as him, because I'm not. But I've always even now, when I'm starting something, I would say, well, what would he say? What would he say? And he would say, yeah, go for it.
As Iman goes for it once again with her latest endeavor, Love Memoir, she continues to feel David's presence every day.
So his presence, yes,
Yeah.
definitely. The sunsets, definitely. Because he always loved sunsets, but also it reminds me constantly of where we've been in Tuscany and in Florence, because we got married in Florence. That's how much we loved Italy. So that reminds me, and I see it every day. It's in front of me. I see it from my bedroom, I see it from my kitchen, I see it from my living room. It's right in front of me. So that is ever present, you know. And the family, from his son, and now his son has 2 kids, and my daughter has a child. You know, they remember him, and my daughter definitely. So yeah, he's ever present. He's ever present.